As the country marks the World Anti-Corruption Day today, President Uhuru Kenyatta's second term in office has been rocked by a series of corruption scandals, with taxpayers losing billions in stolen public funds. In 2018 alone, at least 5 major scandals have been unearthed, bringing to the fore the extent to which corruption has permeated the highest levels of government. And we are going to take a look at some of those. And we will begin off with the National Youth Service scandal known as the NYS Season 2, which has allegedly seen Kenyans lose at least 9 billion shillings. At least 9 billion shillings from the coffers. Over 40 individuals are already facing various charges over the scandal, including former Youth and Gender Principal Secretary Lilian Omolo and former NYS Director General Richard Ndubai. Also implicated are 3 companies that were also implicated in that particular scandal. According to the DPP, 8 commercial banks pleaded guilty to facilitating the multi-billion scandal at the NYS and have entered a plea bargaining agreement with his office to pay a 300 million shilling fine after the Central Bank of Kenya penalized the banks for violating financial transaction rules. The 5 banks handled a total of 3.5 billion shillings from the NYS. The case will be mentioned on February 1st for a pre-trial conference. And away from that, then came the scandal at the Kenya Pipeline Company, or rather at the Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Kenyans are said to have lost about 470 million shillings and over procurement of defective transformers, and there were alleged irregularities in pre-qualification of about 525 companies for labor and transport contracts through current and former senior managers at the company. Now, the case currently pending in court saw the then KPLC boss Kenta Rus relieved of his duties, and Ben Chuma, also a former boss at KPLC, linked to the case together with 8 other senior officials. The case is expected to be heard between the 17th and the 19th of between the 15th to the 17th of December this year. And away from that, we'll also be looking at the country almost coming to terms with the alleged loss of about 1.9 billion shillings at the National Cereals and Produce Board. The scam was brought to the limelight when NCPB MD Newton Terror resigned. 5 senior managers were also suspended and 59 members of staff put under investigation. 152 people, mainly NCPB officials and unscrupulous traders, are under investigations and face possible prosecution. A well-connected cabal of traders, some of whom are not registered as farmers, were accused of supplying large quantities of cheap imported maize at the expense of Kenyan farmers who were turned away at the depots. Now, the NCPB still owes farmers approximately 2.1 billion shillings. And we're going to move on to yet another scandal that rocked the country. The Kenya Pipeline Company. Now, the scandal at the national, before we actually go back to the Kenya Pipeline Company, we'll take a look at what happened at the National Health Insurance Fund. And before we come back to the National Health Insurance Fund is the Kenya Pipeline Company. Now, the latest of the scandals that has rocked the country is the Kenya Pipeline Company. Now, investigations are currently ongoing over the disappearance of more than 21 million litres of fuel that KPC claimed either spilt or was stolen by vandals worth at least 2 billion shillings. Incidentally, it is not the only scandal at the Kenya Pipeline Company. The DPP has already approved 3 charges against former Kenya Pipeline Company Managing Director Joe Sang and 5 others in the case. KPC had indicated that 7.2 billion shillings, or rather million litres, spilled, while another 4.4 million was stolen. In a resolution by the board, oil marketers were allowed to, conduct a forensic stock audit by December 31st to ascertain the claims of spillage reports. Now, KPC board has since appointed Hudson Ndambi as its interim managing director. And of course, just to mention a bit about the NHIF scandal, we do not have it here. The scandal at the NHIF has also played out this year. We have about 1.5 billion shillings that was allegedly lost and 21 suspects arrested. The suspects are to answer to 7 charges related to deception, fraud, abuse of office, among others. Now, NHIF board members Mudonzili and Yusuf Ibrahim were listed as the first 2 suspects. Also implicated are former NHIF CEO Simeon Ole Kirgoti, Gilbert Gadho, the head of ICT, and Robert Mureithi, the head of Web Tribe Limited. Now, the current CEO Geoffrey Mwangi and his finance director Wilbert Kurgat have since been taken to court over withholding documents related to the transaction and are out on bond. They've also been suspended from their position. The case is active.